Okay, so I've cut a heart out of a 6x6 sheet of paper, and all I did was just fold the paper in half and then cut it out that way. And then what I did is I just cut like little pieces out of it because I kind of wanted to piece it apart and have it be different. And then I want to lace it up right here. And then I want this part to be blank. So I just cut out little sections in the shape that I want. And now I'm just going to kind of roughly sketch around that with my pencil so I can do my hot glue marks. Just real light. Okay, and now I'm going to go outside of all of these lines and draw the shapes that I want to do my hot glue in. So I'm going to start right here. Okay, now I've got my design drawn all the way around, and so I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and I'm just going to fill these in, just follow the lines with my hot glue gun. And you'll want to take your time with this and make sure your lines are smooth, and I always kind of go in as I'm going with my thumb and just make sure everything's like, you know, it's never going to be perfect with hot glue, but just try to make sure everything's nice and smooth and symmetrical. Okay, so you can see there what it looks like, and you don't have to worry about the pencil lines because we're totally going to cover that up. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of my lines like this because it is pretty time consuming, and I will come back when it's done. Okay, I've went around with my hot glue gun and filled in all my little designs. And what I meant by making it symmetrical is sometimes it'll kind of warp outward, so I usually just take a pencil and kind of make it, you know, all the same thickness and make sure it's rounded right, because it's kind of hard to get it to be perfect with the hot glue gun unless you have a fine tip one, and that would probably work much better. Okay, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere some tissue paper, just decoupage it onto there, and I've just tore my tissue paper into some strips, and this one has some script on it which I really like. I'm just tearing it up, and then I'm going to use some gel medium to adhere it down, or some Mod Podge in this case. So just get a good amount on there. Make sure you get in between the glue design really well. Okay. And just kind of use the paintbrush to really get down into those crevices and all the way into the glue, hot glue marks. Okay, so you can see the hot glue is still coming through. The tissue paper is just covering it up. If you want to use your finger sometimes and kind of go around it just to make it more defined, you can do that as well. I'm going to do that so my hot glue design really stands out. And I'm not going to pay too much attention to this inside area because it's going to be covered up with the heart. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around my canvas and completely cover it with the tissue paper. Okay, I've covered the entire thing in tissue paper, and right now it looks like all of our pattern is going to be not show up, but it will once we get done with the spraying and then highlighting it with some pigment ink. So this is what it looks like so far, and it does take some time. It's kind of a time-consuming process, but definitely worth it in the end. So now I'm going to gesso the entire thing just to kind of whitewash. That script is a little bit too bold for what I'm wanting. Okay, now comes the fun part. I'm going to start misting it. I'm using Shimmerz in Heavy Metal, Vibes in Snowstorm, Spritz in Truffle, Shimmerz, Spritz in Bed of Roses, Shimmerz in Concrete, Spritz in Cotton Candy, and then Vibes in Pop Art Pink. So I'm using a lot of colors here, but they're all in the same family as far as these ones, and then the other ones are Shimmerz, so they're basically clear with just the mica coming out, or the glimmer coming out. Okay, so I'm going to start with my lightest color first, and that is the Cotton Candy Spritz. Just giving it a good shake to make sure everything's mixed up in there. And I'm just going to start spraying all over in a random fashion. You can see this one is a very light pink. I absolutely love it. And we've got all that texture on there, so the mists are just going to run into all the little crevices and create a really cool effect. Now I'm going to go to my Pop Art Pink, and it's just a bit darker. Very pretty color. Okay, now I'm going to go to Bed of Roses. Now before I change color families, I'm going to go ahead and heat set this so that when I start doing my other colors it doesn't get all muddied up. Okay, the pinks are dried, so I'm going to go in with the Heavy Metal now in Shimmerz. And I'm going to heat set this layer too. And now I'm going to use the Concrete. And now I'm going to go in with the Truffle, the darkest color. Okay, now we have got all the mist on there. You guys can see just how shimmery and pretty this is. So now we're going to use, I'm going to use Prima's chalkboard inks, excuse me y'all, and Worn Jeans, because I wanted the blue to kind of contrast all the pink and stuff. So you're just going to go over your little hot glue pattern, and it will pretty much just hit that because it's like embossed, you know, it's a raised area. And over the dark areas, you might have to go over it like 2 or 3 times to get that to cover up. Okay, now what I'm doing is I have went over the whole thing with this Worn Jean Prima inker, and it just hit the raised areas. And now I'm going over it with gesso, and I'm just dipping my finger into a little bit of gesso, blotting it off, and just going over all of my little pattern hot glue pieces. And the blue just adds depth. It almost like creates a shadow behind the white and any part that doesn't get hit by the white. So it's a really pretty effect. And this just makes this pattern stand out much more. And I've done the sides as well. So that is it for this part, and now I'm going to go into a time lapse of me creating the rest of the canvas. I hope you guys enjoyed this background tutorial, and I hope you decide to give it a try. And of course I'll have a link to the Shimmer store down below, and don't forget to mention my name to get a free spray or paint of your choice. And